First of all, when I read the script, I knew I had to be in the movie. This was good. Another big star will take it and make it about his background. I was just flabbergasted. I was floored because I saw a chance to show our family, a Latin family, in a more way. So the Chucho character was not my first choice. I was more interested in Jimmy. Within a short amount of time in the center of the piece, that I felt it was a wonderful way for me, my talent or energies to this movie, and I don't...
And money out of politics. Every person who runs should get the same...
No, seriously, I would love to tell you, but he's going to go through what I would call, like, so many tribes. They all have their own dialects.
And it's time that good-hearted people everywhere, you know, gave credit to those networks and programs. It's like, you know, it really, they're like your children, especially when you don't have other children. And you learn a lot about yourself and your temper and your ability to be patient to a degree. Dogs really try your patience. But you know what? It's a good thing, because after a while you learn, hey, maybe I shouldn't yell at my dog all the time, you know? Maybe I should be nicer to him, because sometimes you're busy and you get all caught up. You know, my dog will run up on people and, like, put his nose where it doesn't belong, put paws on, like, nice... But I realized that they're very sensitive and subtle creatures, that they could hear the difference in a change of tone, so I don't have to...
We have all kinds of neuroses. We all share that, but we don't show it.
Georgie would mention us, and the audience would laugh.
I'm Estelle Harris, and I'm proud to be a brave heart woman. You know, and they gave us the sides, my son Glenn and I, and this one was for the one this one was for the one that was a winner as far as they got an Emmy for it, and it was. I got the sides, and I read, and I said to my son, what was she so embarrassed about? So my son looked at me, he said, don't you know? I said, I don't know, it doesn't say she fainted, and I don't know what she fainted to. Yeah. And I started, but when I heard the other women, as I said, they were all screaming, and it was in a hospital, you know. So I thought to myself, I will not scream. I will give him hell, but I will not scream. And that's what I did. I did it, and they were laughing so hard. All the did. And I had to stop while they laughed and continued. And then when I got up to go, one of the producers ran up and took my hand, and he said, you were wonderful. But they had SAG, a Screen Actors Guild rule that if 500 people come to, I went out, and I said to my son, took me back to the hotel, and when I got back to the hotel, they told me, and one son, not too bright, you know, when I had this all in my mind, when he was a baby, I would go out with the other mothers with their baby. They started walking at 6 months, 7, and I take it out on my husband, because he's grateful for the attention. And I didn't like to take it out on my children, you know. So, yeah, of course. I think everyone gets cranky. Yeah. We're emotional. Yeah. I have 2 sons and a daughter. Yeah. The emotional one, the question. When I hear my voice, I sound like a munchkin to myself. You don't have to memorize it, and you don't have to think about where you're going to be or anything. I'm one of the few that does this. When I'm walking down the street and I see a woman in a beautiful pair of shoes, I'll stop and I'll say, oh, those shoes are beautiful. Where did you get them? Yeah. You know? Or I'll see a woman with beautiful face. Yeah. What a face. Because, you know, in the summer I put away the winter shoes, but I must have over 100 pairs. I don't feel like I have it all. I don't know. I don't think about it all. You should be content with what you have. You should always things, and I would love to. But once you can afford these things, I'm Estelle Harris, and I'm proud to be a brave heart woman. Now we have 2. The children are all out. Yes. Our 3 children, and we have two pets, dogs,
Yes.
Maltese, Jaja,
Yes.
and a Pomeranian, oh God, Tino,
Yeah.
but his real name is Val because he was born on Valentine's Day. And they keep us kind of busy, and he calls himself a background actor.
Okay.
And whenever I hear him say that, I say he's an actor like I'm a mortician.
Right.
And he tries to be helpful.
Yeah.
I said, try to grow at the same rate together, because when one grows more than the other returns home.
Yeah.
I couldn't get an apartment myself because then I would be a bad woman, you know. So in our time, we sort of had to get me, and we could not be the askers. But today it's wonderful, the freedom of saying what you want and couldn't help me out. Couldn't. And I was wrapped around upside down in the seatbelt, screaming pain. And finally a car stopped and got out. Can we help you? I said, just loosen, get rid of the seatbelt. And they did, and I was fine, and I walked. I mean, all he had to do was get up and walk around and open the seat, but he... And my son, they called up my son that's out here in New York. So they called him and said, your mother and father had an accident. Well, he must have driven 150 miles an hour because he was there like in a half hour. Should have taken an hour.
Yeah.
And he walked into the hospital and he heard noise. He was laughing. And I said, well, why shouldn't I? I wasn't hurt. I don't know. I think I had to inspire it myself because I was not a happy child. And I think that I had to, yes,
to
I
express
think
yourself.
so.
Yeah.
Because my husband always mentions to me, you're only happy when you're working. And I said, and I shouldn't say should have, you're doing well what you're doing, but you could have been a joy to be with.
Thank
and
you.
your questions are wonderful.
Thank you, Estelle.
I can't wait to hear more questions. I was wonderful, and I never think I'm wonderful. I'm a critic. I liked it just as much without the 3D, but if they want the 3D, fine. They want not ruin the movie. Anyway, they think that improves it, fine, but the story is so good. The ships that pass in the night, but we're all pretty busy. Name them, but it's such a, and it's still a joy. It's still a joy. We're doing Toy Story 3 now, and the funniest things happen. But he shouldn't insult me because I cry easily. So he was so nervous, you know. And finally, I realized what had happened, and I said, "Were you told to be nice to me?" He said, "Yes." I said, "You don't have to be anymore." Well, he was so relieved, and I'm Estelle Harris, and I'm proud to be a Braveheart woman. They give you the sides first.
Yeah.
That's just a couple of pages of, and they gave us the sides, my son Glenn and I, and this one was for the one that was a winner as far as they got an Emmy for it, and it was. I got the sides, and I read, and I said to my son, what was she so embarrassed about? No. I said, I don't know. It doesn't say she fainted, and I don't know what she fainted from. He said masturbation.
Yeah.
And I started. Oh. But when I heard the other women, as I said, they were all screaming, and it was in a hospital, you know. So I thought to myself, I will not scream. I will give him hell, but I will not scream. And that's what I did. I did it, and they were laughing so hard. All the producers and the directors and they were. I did, and I had to stop while they laughed and continued. And then when I got up to go, one of the producers ran up, and I said to my son, "I want to go to the zoo." Took me back to the hotel.
Yeah.
And when I got back to the hotel, they told me, you know, you got about 20 calls. You better.
Wow.
So my son drove me over there, and that I had this all in my mind. When he was a baby, I would go out with the other mothers with their baby. They started walking at 6 months, 7 months, 8. Yeah. And I take it out on my husband because he's grateful for the attention, and I didn't like to take it out on my children, you know. So yeah, of course. I think everyone. You don't have to memorize it, and you don't have to think about where you're going to be or anything. You just, you know, I'm one of the few that does this. When I'm walking down the street and I see a woman in a beautiful pair of shoes, I'll stop and I'll say, oh, those shoes are beautiful. Or I'll see a woman with beautiful face.
Yeah.
What a face, you know? And when you do that, they're so happy that you notice shoes. I don't think I can count them because, you know, in the summer I put away the winter shoes, but I must have over 100 pairs of shoes. And thank God, I grow heavier. I don't feel like I have it all. I don't know, I don't think about it because I think about things and I would love to, but once you can afford these things, I'm Estelle Harris, and I'm proud to be a brave heart woman. That's nice. I don't think about being funny. I guess it just, if you think about being funny and you try, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It only, when I became more sure of myself and I forgot about myself, then it was.
Yeah.
But you know, the wonderful thing about being shy is you listen to other people. You know what happened? I think I just got tired of being shy.
Yeah.
And I got tired and I said, the heck with it. If they don't like me, they don't like me. And that's all. This is me. And then I began being more confident. Just loved to go to the movies. That was my favorite thing. And read a lot of books.
Yeah.
And then when I got into high school, and they asked me if I wanted to be in a hood, and I was funny, and everyone it happened that I was fully myself then, because all the other students came. You were wonderful, Estelle. People that the students that never. When we moved to New York from Pennsylvania, a small town near Pittsburgh, Tarentum, I sort of thought that I was good on stage. So when we moved to New York, I joined an amateur. Well, the audiences were laughing because they always cast me in funny roles, where the plays, you know, in libraries and such.
Right.
And my reputation sort of grew. And I was doing Come Back Little Sheba, Lola. It's my favorite role, I think. Little Sheba was her dog.
Yeah.
And she loved her dog. And she would say, Lola, Lola, not Lola, Sheba. I was Lola. Sheba, come back, little Sheba. Sheba never came back. It's a wonderful play.
Okay.
And to tell you, when I was doing Come Back Little Sheba, we're in the amateur group, word got around, and reviewers from newspapers, and they watched me, and one day, I don't remember his name, but he was like the Saul Hurok of Long Island. Saul Hurok years ago brought all the wonderful, and so this man, Robert, and I can't remember his last name, came to see me. And they all said to me, so-and-so is here, so-and-so is here. And he said, you shouldn't be here anymore, you're too good. And so he sent some agents doing commercials, wonderful commercials. I was I was graduated at NYU, and he went out to California. And he said, and he called me Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And Glenn came out with shapes, and I just never.
And what is he like? Well, he's I think he's got a kind of a good sense of humor. I think he's he's a good guy dad. He's a good dad. He cares very much, Jenny, and she's absolutely, of course, amazing. She's an amazing actress, an amazing woman, and I've been a huge fan of Diane Keaton's for So getting a chance to kind of work with her, and I did get a chance to work with her in one session in a studio, and I did get a chance to work with Diane, although it was really odd. I was in Toronto, she was in Los Angeles, so she was on a monitor in my studio. I could see her on a TV monitor, and she could see me on a TV monitor in her studio, and it was the one session when we got a chance to do scenes together, and it was really quite amazing for a number of reasons. One is just watching her work, and you're seeing the greatest time watching Finding Dory. I think a lot. Well, first, it's Dory and it's Marlon, and they're back, in a big way, and the same. I think the same sense of adventure that that the story kind of told in Finding Nemo is pretty much there in spades in Finding Dory. There are some amazing adventures, funny and terrifying, and doesn't get along with my daughter from my first marriage, but the daughter from my first marriage, yeah, my second wife, and the same with my mother, who played caught up in this Ponzi situation that leads to the whole witness protection thing. But as a dad, I don't think I'm a disciplinarian, and that's one of the problems with this family that stems from me. I'm just not strong enough where I should be, and I'm not Medea in that sense of discipline and do's and don'ts. I had some eccentric, it was fun hanging around them, much the way it's fun hanging around Medea, but we didn't get the same sense of discipline. Sex advice, avoid it, but that ain't gonna happen on your own experience. But I can't say that's true, because I never really quite got to that phase. I definitely was a fan of Finding Nemo. I thought it was one of the great animated feature. It was just, it was funny, it was heartwarming. I thought the voice that Ellen brought to the character was quite amazing. And what brought me to Dory, they asked me to do it, and I said yes before I could even hear the rest of the question. To boot, it was the Finding Nemo in serious, psychiatric sessions to kind of contemplate. I was fascinated by what they did with the face, because the character, the animated character, doesn't look any fortunate. Its own distinctive kind of character. I didn't recognize my son kind of in my career, and that I thought was really quite amazing. And I just think that animation is so brilliant. What those guys. We set out to make, Dan and I, my son Dan, we set out to make a show that sensibility, and we kind of did that. And our sensibility really is house as a fly in the wall, and all of a sudden the money is gone.
Yes.
So that was we have great writers, and Dan's doing a great job running the room now. In this town now, which means more interaction with the townspeople, and I think that's what all the characters in their own way, spelled S-C-H-I-T-T, is a legitimate surname. We looked up in several phone books and found in different cities and then in several countries. So, our argument was, if you're interviewing somebody, let's say on your news broadcast, and you're supering people that you are interviewing on the air, and their name happened to be won the, CBC over, which is they couldn't argue against the fact that this is a person's name, we have a right to, to use that as the title. It's the name of the family that founded the first successful comedy show, sitcom, not comedy show, sitcom, that this country, to the audience, without it being the real name, certainly not an impression. Joe was not doing an impression of Lloyd, because there are no boundaries. You can kind of go where you want to go creatively, and if the audience wants to go with you, then Second City show, it was like mid-70s when we saw our first Chicago show, and we noticed a big difference. Scenes. And I thought, well, how can they do a scene this long, kind of with very few laughs, and yet the late great Gilda Radner, and so we did see the most appropriate name for our show. Our show is about a wealthy family who lose everything. So they lose, and they bought a town when they had money. 16-year-old son as a birthday present, and the reason we bought it as a joke was because the town was called Schitt's Creek, and now that they've lost everything, the only The only place that can actually afford to the show, and my daughter Sarah is also on the show, playing Twyla the waitress, and Dan, my son. Well, it's a different way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, an improvised movie like these movies, where we kind of have a written outline, and but we don't write the dialogue, is a very, very fun way to shoot a movie, because you just don't know what's going to happen in front of the camera. We don't have any rehearsals, so it's always fun to improvise, and you always use kind of improvisation in. Well, it was a pretty exciting thing when we and it was you know, when I finally got to hear what the story was, how the characters were kind of moving along, and what John and Hayden, the writer directors, had in mind for this. I got very excited, you know, because I thought their story, the way they were laying it out, was very exciting and kind of fresh. So it was a lot of fun. For this, I got very excited, you know, because I thought well, it was fantastic. I mean, one of the great things was knowing I was going to be doing scenes with Jennifer, with Stifler's mom. And getting Jim's dad and Stifler's mom together was just, I thought, an amazingly brilliant. And you know, we had and it was just kind of fun on the set, and it was thought it was just a really interesting way to go, and stepping outside of what we. Brilliant aspects of the script was making Jim's dad a widower, because it did open up a lot of different, you know, avenues here, and one was that it kind of enabled Jim and his dad to kind of, you know, have those. So that was, you know, I thought that was pretty amazing, and, you know, quite honest, a scene I shot in this movie was back in the bedroom with Jim, like I was doing the original American Pie. Everything was the same. The wallpaper, the beds, you know, everything in that room was identical to the way it was back then. So it was kind of a spooky experience. It doesn't happen a lot in one's career, and to hit on something, to be associated with something. Well, I was excited about the prospect of doing scenes with Stifler's mom, and of course it turned out to, you know, as much fun as I knew it would be. Yeah, for me it was, you know, when I kind of realized where the story was going. Once I found out, I mean, to me that was like, you know, finally I get to.
Lied it, and it worked so well between you. The chemistry was brilliant. I know you guys were in 90 FM a little earlier on, and it was very, very funny, because there was a group of guys downstairs in.
There's something. Yeah. I mean, there's something charming about hearing when Jim's dad, when people go, geez, because those were done. After we thought there was going to be no more theatrical American Pies, and lo and behold, we hear there is going to be another one, and that's American Reunion. If this works for the studio and they're quite happy with it, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they decide to go for another one. But it's, you know, something tells me, you know, I mean, if I was a betting man, I guess I might say this could be. Well, it's not really that difficult, but I understand why it's still shocking to people, because that's the personality of the movie, I think. You know, if you can't be shocked by an American Pie movie. Lord Levy, I think.
That's pretty good.
No, it's pretty amazing. It was, you know, it was a great day. I've never been prouder to be me. Medal around my neck. I said I feel more like the court jester than a you know, because everybody there is just, you know, they have their accomplishments are just, you know, amazing, and I'm like a character guy, you know. So I feel like what am I doing here, you know, really? But it was a pretty amazing night. I'll tell you what the most amazing thing about that day was. At the black tie dinner, after the event, and I'm sitting beside the Governor General's wife, and he's at the next table, and just as they're about to serve the entree for the dinner, I feel a kidney stone. It couldn't have been sweeter, and they couldn't have been more helpful, and the night ended okay. It was, you know, but you know, I said, well, this can't happen a lot here, and they said no. And I'm thinking, okay, I've had them before, and it's like, you know, now I've got to. At what point do I? The Governor General's wife, that this is what's going on, because at a certain point, if it comes on really strong, you're going to be carried out. You won't be able to walk out of the room. So I said, I'm thinking, okay, now it's getting bad, but it wasn't getting worse. So I made it through the whole dinner, didn't eat a thing. That was the sad part. It was a good-looking dinner. And I told her after the dinner, and then she was, she was very fine. She said, "Oh, we'll find something." I said, "I may need some prescription drugs tonight in Ottawa, and it's late. Do you guys have any pull in this?" Honestly, it's not so much reflecting on your career. I can't believe I'm here. That's all I'm thinking about. My parents who are no longer here, thinking, how proud they, would have been, and if they're looking down, I'm sure they're, just feel good. I mean, I still don't understand how it happened. I think, listen, I love that franchise. There's no question about it. I always thought my career was doing okay up to that point. I mean, never had to take a, waiting job to support my career, but we all started with working with Gilda back, and she was an amazingly talented woman, very funny, very sweet, very positive, and I get which are all over. Gilda's Club Greater Toronto is what the benefit is for. Is kind of she kind of made it known that it's when she started going to the wellness center in Los Angeles, people going through the same thing, and that's what Gilda's Club is. Here, people with cancer and their families go, and they get to 10th anniversary of the show, and it's going to be absolutely an incredible show. I mean, Russell Peters is hosting it again. Marty Short is coming up for the show. That we'll do on the show, and Andrea Martin and oh my God, Lighthouse and Andy Kim, and I find it sometimes tougher, the older you get, you find a lot of things kind of tough. I mean, even this is tough, coming on and talking about yourself. I mean, you do it like all your career, and at some point you're thinking, okay, you know what? At some point you got to stop talking about yourself. I think it's almost like I've told every story, over and over, and everything becomes less important in a way, work-wise. You're less intense about the business, and when you see people who are intense about the business, especially, down in Hollywood and Los Angeles, you just kind of go, wow, this is kind of, it's really just entertainment. You can't get that intense. I've always had a very low-key kind of approach to just about everything, although when you're younger, everything is more important. Gee, I wonder why he got that job and I didn't get it, and all that kind of stuff. And now I really don't, it doesn't bother me quite so much. I mean, I'm fortunate that, I'm now in a position where if I don't really want to do so, I don't have to do it. I can just, put the clubs in the car and hit the golf course. It's harder now to find stuff that you're doing, kind of. I mean, American Pie, they can do it from now till the end of time, and I will come back and do it because I love it so much, and I love the characters. And I did go through those meetings in my younger days where you walk into a room and there's somebody there who really doesn't know anything, about you, and they're asking you or kind of putting you to sleep. And now I just say, excuse me, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Could you get put in front of him? But by the, honestly, when the camera starts rolling, he may get to 2 or 3 of the scripted questions, and the rest he just goes with. It is one of the great creations of all time, and it's amazing how fast and how not going to kind of get the same give and take. You may not necessarily get what you're expecting from the people that you're working with. And I've had some pretty scary, like, fingernails on a chalkboard, scary kind of experiences where you're just, not a lot, but a couple that you just wouldn't want to go through twice. But mostly I really have been very lucky. I've worked with people that are great, that are smart, that are funny, that they're always working at the top of the. And that's how it first kind of came up. Okay. And when John and I actually sat in his hotel room one day in Edmonton watching it very well, because I didn't get to work with them at all, so I didn't really get to know them. Kick out of creating friendships with these people that I really haven't worked with before. But this is a very funny movie, and it was really a well. That's and good. Can they make the next movie as good or better? I think the first you know, big job, and it was a big job, was a Toronto production of Godspell, and a lot of really great people ended up being in that show as a first job ever. Myself and my old friend and school chum Marty Short, and Paul Schaefer, and Gilda Radner, and Victor Garber, Andrea Martin. We were all, that was our first show together. And then after Godspell, I kind of got into Second City, which opened a club in Toronto. They moved, they opened a second club. They originated in Chicago, of course. So I was very lucky because we had these two amazing shows, Godspell and Second City, which was an institution, moving to Toronto. And, you know, luckily I was able to kind of make both of those shows. And those were that's the first 3 or 4 years of my career, kind of doing 8 shows a week, which I was really fortunate. And then out of Second City Theater, we, of course, developed and created our television show, Second City Television, which became SCTV. And, you know, the rest kind of just rolls.
No, I mean, I sort of always knew that I wanted to perform. I didn't quite know in what capacity. So in high school and college, I was doing a lot of acting stuff, and then got my job on MTV, which was more of a hosting situation, and that took about 8 years. It took me away from the acting thing for a while, and when I left MTV, I got back into it, and about 1.5 years into that, I started working with my dad on this project, and then a couple years later, here we are. So it's been...
Well, it's really a show about a very wealthy family lose all their money. You know, their business manager kind of screws them. They get they're left holding the bag for years of unpaid taxes. The government takes everything except a town that they once bought as a joke, and they bought it as a joke because that's the name of the town, Schitt's Creek. The only place they can afford to live now until they get back on their feet is Schitt's Creek. So it's that fish out of water kind of situation, but really it's about this family that never really functioned together as a family when they had money, and now they're living in 2 adjoining motel rooms in Schitt's.
4 virtually incapable human beings trying to figure out what it's like to, live.
Great character actress, so kind of, chameleon-like when she does characters. This is perhaps, one of her great performances in this role of Moira Rose. She's incredibly funny and insanely funny. And it's true, we've been working for years on the Chris Guest movies, and even, before that, going back that I have, that we're able to work together. That's, she's always the first name.
It's 10 o'clock on Pop TV. And if you want to find your channel, just head to the website, poptv.com, and you can input your postal code and area code, and they'll tell you where to find the channel on your local cable.
This one, improvising is encouraged, and we've got a great script. Started off with a fantastic.
On CBC was just hot on the idea right from the very beginning, and they had made a very conscious choice to kind of make a 90-degree turn and kind of go more cable. And I watch his work. I think he's amazing on camera. This was all unfolding since we started working together, because we'd never worked together before. So I'm kind of seeing this with friends, and we finished the dinner. We're walking out of the restaurant. I remember she was walking out on the street with her arm around my wife. She had her shoes in her hand, walking down the sidewalk. Believe it or not, we haven't had like a lot of disagreements. I don't know that we were both nominated for Best Actor for the Canadian Screen Awards that we just had.
Like forward moving, forward moving, forward moving. And it's only once you sort of sit down for a second and look back.
Created these amazing characters that have now gotten us into the 4th installment here, right? I was competing with my son I was up for Best Actor in a Comedy Series. My son Dan was also up. How do you feel about being up against your son? I said, I have no idea. This is like For me,
Yeah.
I'm obviously rooting for my son because, I'm a dad. I'm not to see my kids working in a scene with Catherine O'Hara. It is totally surreal. We're just going to be there longer than we originally thought we were. So life has to go on, and it's
physical attributes to be a Tom Hanks kind of leading man. Part of this tonight, and delighted to have been a part of Splash, the movie.
To squeeze, a stage piece in if we were really strapped for writing. And a lot of times they just didn't work as well because they're stage pieces. And of course, when we perform them at the same energy level that we would on stage because that's what we were used to doing. They didn't work as well. But the news piece was a great television adaptation because it was TV that we were doing on stage, and when we just put it in the show, it worked pretty well. I mean, we started in show 1 and went right through the Lin Yi Tang. Edith Prickly started as a stage character. I don't remember, but you're clarifying this for me, which is great. So then the show went. It was a nice place, whatever. I don't know what the point is. The point is, I enjoyed my house. I don't know whether I could tell you what it was. We had a pool. We had a lovely chap who was living in the guest house. I don't think you really care about that. I only did the shows when Andrew called me to say, do you want to come up and guest on some shows? But beforehand, I had no intention of going back. I just thought it was too pathetic. This little thing. But I did go up and guest for a couple of weeks, and when I got up there, I saw how the production had just. It was amazing. We'd never had production like this in Toronto. It was, great direction, great lighting, great sets. I mean, it really looked dazzling. And once I got up there, I said, whoa. You took off. You were in a bar. You were, we were working our asses off on that. With them was so much energy and enthusiasm that, at this point, round about our second to last season, we were kind of getting tired, and it was Marty's energy and just positive vibe and attitude that kind of picked everybody up, and now we had to kind of come back up to that cast. Yes. Well, that was 1981 during the kind of Jean Domanian of the just when the original cast had left, right? 1979 or something like that, and the new cast came in, new producer. Yeah. I did hear that they wanted to put us in the Saturday night 11:30 time slot.
Well, I was like, is this real, or are they making this story? So I was always curious about the story. So when I finally got the chance to talk to the real Dr. Nurko, I was like, come on, doctor, tell me, I'm your friend. Did it really happen? It was a miracle? And he was like, no, please don't mention the word miracle, because I'm a scientist. I'm a man of science, and I cannot say that word. But yes, something unexplainable. Instead of miracles, they say a spontaneous remission. Yeah. But it was so funny. He was like, no, please don't mention the word. So I tried to obtain all this information and then portray it in a movie it's full of hope. So you're not gonna feel depressed. You're just gonna be touched, and that's all. But it's a it's a great. And her sense of humor. She was always smiling, always making jokes, and always in a good mood, even though she was, first of all, she was going through many things. And second, she was always committed to the character. She was always delivering her 100%, even though when she was just, the director was telling her, do you want, we can put a stand-up in front of Eugenio so you can go rest to your train. Deliver the same energy and the same emotions. So she was such a nice. Really, I got a star. I mean, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. For probably all the people that doesn't know me, I have my. I'm very well known among all the here to the U.S. So I'm starting my career here in the U.S. I left everything behind to start a career here in the U.S. So it's funny because. I'm very well known in part of the population, but absolutely new for the other one. So,
quitando toda la paja, que realmente todo lo que está en la película te comunique algo o tenga algún propósito. Excelente actriz, no era actriz, apareció de la nada, apareció en Twitter. Niño, dijimos, a ver, pues bueno, niño o niña, y adaptamos el libreto. Ya desesperado empecé a tuitear, por favor, si alguien conoce un niño o niña güerito de ojo azul, carismático, que hable perfecto inglés, perfecto español, sin acento, pues un niño que es que el papá por quererlo hacer perder el miedo, para quitarle el miedo lo avienta de aquí, lo avienta de allá, le pone tarántulas, lo encierra en el cementerio, le hace una cantidad de cosas para hacerlo hombrecito y acaba traumándolo. Y entonces cuando crece, pues le tiene pánico a todo, le tiene pánico a los animales, lo enfrenta todo eso por amor a su hija. Es una historia de amor entre un padre. Pero tiene mucho corazón. Es una película que se pueden identificar todos, es para toda la familia. Es importante que sepan que es una película familiar que pueden llevar desde los hijos hasta la abuelita, porque de verdad es para todas las edades. No es para nada aburrida, no es la típica película para los jóvenes que luego dicen, oye, pero esa es una película familiar, qué flojera. Muchas cosas que de verdad es una película realmente entrañable. Y por eso me tardé tanto tiempo, es el trabajo que más me ha costado cada. Y de verdad es parte de lo que quería decir. Yo he logrado entrar al cine americano gracias al apoyo de todos los hispanos en este país. Hacen que los productores se den cuenta que sí hay mercado, que sí hay público para el semana. No se esperen para después. Vayan el 30 de agosto o al siguiente fin de semana cuando mucho, si no pudieran. Estamos pensando si le ponemos no refunds o qué le íbamos a poner, pero finalmente dijeron los americanos, creo que nos gusta más Instructions Not Included y respetamos mucho a la gente de comercio. Que en un principio crees que son obstáculos y dices, bueno, ¿por qué a mí? ¿Por qué me tuvo que haber pasado esto en la vida? Y con el tiempo te das cuenta que era un obstáculo que te hizo crecer como ser humano, que te hizo ser mejor persona y que en lugar de ser una maldición. Quiero hacer promoción de esta película y luego posiblemente tengo ya un ofrecimiento. Padre trabajando, pero está uno muy solo. Y venir aquí y encontrarse con caras conocidas así como que Estuve aquí en México, pero allá en Estados Unidos no tenemos quien nos cocine, ya sabes que allá no...
And a guest, he's the best, he one of the best act, and no quiero decir más, quiero introducir nada más y nada menos que al gran, al genial, al maravilloso, al único.
No, es un proceso que ni siquiera yo sé porque no es algo que yo haya pedido. Te lo otorgan en base a tu carrera, a tus premios y a tu labor humanitaria, básicamente, y al número de fans que te piden. Entonces fue para mí el año de que salió la película de Instructions Not Included, fue el que me cambió la vida y eso ayudó mucho a que me... Yo creo que sí, yo creo que me abrió un nuevo mercado, me ha dado a conocer un poco más entre la comunidad, sobre todo en España, que siempre he querido trabajar. Y era hora de que se pudiera hacer una sinergia entre los festivales que hay en México, que son muy importantes, y el premio Platino. Yo creo que es un premio que si no nos apoyamos, el Oscar Iberoamericano. Entonces nos hace y tener nuestro propio Oscar en español para, pues si no siempre nos vamos a quedar todo. Me encantó que fuera Patricia la directora porque para mí es una garantía. Siempre película que ella hace es el que estuviera basada en una historia real, que se me hizo muy interesante. No fuera de un criminal, drogadicto, drug dealer, sino que fuera un doctor que existe y que además es una de las eminencias sobre la diversidad. Pero hay algo que no me gustó. Si se va a hablar sobre diversidad en los Óscares, se den de los latinos, de los asiáticos, de todas las nacionalidades y de todos los colores, no nada más de los afroamericanos, porque se me hizo que lo que ellos hicieron fue lo mismo que les hicieron a ellos, ellos estaban haciéndolo con los demás. Si se habla de diversidad, es incluir a todos. I'm like quite famous. El corazón. Si les gustó Instructions Not Included, esta tiene muchos elementos como esa película. Yes, I'm receiving my star on the next March 10th. Yeah, so and I want to invite all the Latinos to show up in the Hollywood Boulevard. What? I will do that next week. I'm going to be every single day watching my star. First of all, the idea of portraying a Latino that is not a drug lord or a criminal for me was like, oh, finally, a different role in my career. So, and then the second was that I'm portraying a real person, and that was like a kind of a challenge. But I'm very, very, very honored to be portraying this, and he's proudly Mexican. So that's why Patricia called me. She said, you are perfect for the role because you are the Mexican, you are getting trained for the role. I went with, not with Dr. Nurko, but with another doctor in Atlanta to the hospital to watch how he does all these routines, how he managed all kids that had this disease. So It was really, really heartbreaking, really touching to watch them, and knowing that probably they're not gonna make it. So I'm about to start shooting my next movie that is gonna be called.
So it's easy to read subtitles. It's like texting and driving at the same.
I had to ask for a lot of money because it's tough to be tough. So finally we did a simple version of the camera. Yeah, absolutely. You need to have a lot of connection. You have to look at her eye. You have to laugh of everything, especially when you have a troubles or problem. You have to laugh of the hard things in life, not the funny things. To laugh of a joke, it's easy. You have to, and that makes you release everything easily. So I think that's the secret. Anything in your life, anything bad in your life, just take the humor of it and laugh of it. That's the
soul of the script to the screen. That and that we don't have enough budget.
Entrevistar a un gran comediante, un colega.
Proc is different in Mexico than America. For example, Proc is
Mirko is the one who brings all this hope to the movie, and when I talked to Christy and to Anna, talking how Dr. Nurko gave them the strength and the hope to go through this process. I mean, usually doctors are pretty cold, and they're just like, they do the thing and they leave. But when you find a doctor that really worries, that really treats you like if you're a friend, it's very hard to find someone like that. So I'm very, and it's proud for me that he's Mexican. And I was telling everyone that probably Latinos, we are very warm, we are very touchy, we like to hug, to kiss, and probably it's part of the things that has Dr. Nurko. He's Latino. Dr. Nurko first through Skype, and then personally because he went to visit the set one day, and it was like scary to me to have the real Dr. Nurko watching how I was portraying, but he's such a nice guy, and he was always open, and I said, please let me know if I'm doing something wrong, but he said, no, exactly the same things I do with my patients, so everything you see in the movie is really filmed with Patricia, so she knows me. When she called me for this role, she said, you know, I think you fit perfect in this role, because he's a funny guy, and you're a comedian, and he's Mexican, so you are the guy. So we started working on that and trying to bring the comedy to the film without losing all the balance of the drama and the importance of letting people know how. Of the film is that if you have enough faith and you have the support and the love of your family, you can get through anything. Sometimes when you experience trouble like this, I don't know, any kind of problem, big problems, you lose faith. You say, why God, if it's so good, is doing this to me? And you start losing faith. And this movie is about that, not losing faith ever, because when you stick to your faith and you stick to your family, I mean, every time you go to the movies, sometimes you see movies about wars, about violence. This is the love between the mom and her daughter, how she fights like anyone to in good shape. Even though she has no hope, no cure, she's there for her. And when you are there for her and you love your family, miracles happen. So when you don't lose your faith.
My name, so I'm used to, probably I need to change my name to John Sam. My agents, they are always telling me you should meet the producers at a restaurant or somewhere else, because when I go to their offices, nobody knows me.
Yeah.
But when we go to a restaurant, all the kitchen comes out.
Seguridad, pero sí me ayudó a decidir el hecho de que la cuestión de seguridad pues es una maravilla. Puedes andar solo, no necesitas traer nadie que te cuide, puedo caminar en la calle, puedes dejar tu portafolio en algún lado y no pasa, ¿no? A 10 días, semana y media de estar estrenando Jack and Jill con Adam Sandler. Está muy, y aparte hice una especie de homenaje a mis personajes. Entonces, si me ven en la abuela, porque igual la abuela está cómodo y que necesitaba yo crecer como ser humano, como persona,
Y me di cuenta en uno de tantos viajes que hice acá, clases, y me hizo sentir tan vivo eso. El irme a meter otra vez una clase de actuación en un idioma que no es el mío, en un idioma con el que no naciste, no sabes, me dio mucha vitalidad, me dio mucha fuerza. En la carrera piensan que tu carrera ya va para abajo. Yo apenas siento que voy a empezar una nueva etapa y eso me emociona mucho, eso me tiene vivo y sé que me tengo que preparar mucho porque todavía no sé improvisar en inglés y sé que es necesario, pero ahí voy y he logrado mucho con lo que públicamente realmente es difícil. No creo que México tenga todavía un candidato en el cual podamos, triste, confiar. Y lo digo abiertamente, no hablo mucho de política, pero el país yo lo veo tan desordenado, tan mal, que veo muy difícil que un candidato nos pueda cambiar. Y además, yo creo que no es una cuestión de candidatos, Jorge, yo creo que es una cuestión de los mexicanos. Porque a veces estamos esperando que una persona cambia al país, que una persona sea la que nos rescate conmigo para decirle, oiga, pero si usted me llama al ratito, podemos hacer un arreglo. Ya le estaba pidiendo una mordida y eso es donde dices, por eso está el país como está, no son los políticos, un churrito, hay un esto, un lo otro, y eso es lo que alimenta. Yo siempre he dicho, no se dan cuenta, toda esa gente están financiando su propio secuestro. Y eso es algo alarmante, que simple y sencillamente oigo hablar a Calderón y dice, perdón señores, pero el país está como está. Exactamente, eso es lo que creo que no se puede permitir, ni se puede hacer una tregua, ni se puede negociar con... Entonces estoy gozando mucho mi vida en Los Ángeles, cada día, y cuando voy a México también lo gozo día con día, y eso me hace... Curiosamente estoy viviendo y disfrutando.
Que así sea porque es una historia de la vida real, no es algo que se haya creado. Existe el doctor Samuel Nurco.
Y no encontrábamos al actor, porque iba a ser niño en un principio, y después de 3 meses de buscarlo no apareció. Entonces abrí la opción para niña, tampoco apareció. Y por Twitter, ya desesperado, faltando una semana para empezar a filmar desde que empecé a escribir la película, y fue en primera porque era una película muy cara, como tú verás, parece una película, y nunca quise abaratarla, siempre me decían, bájale el presupuesto. Yo quería filmarla tal como es y costó casi el doble, poquito más, 1,5 millones. Te estoy hablando, el tope es 2,5 millones ya máximo. Y esta costó 5,5 millones. 5 millones de compromiso. Es un cuate que le tiene miedo al matrimonio, le tiene miedo a la...
Yo creo que la de todos los latinos y la de toda la gente que no podemos, que quieran basar una campaña presidencial en el racismo y en el odio. Sobre todo, y de hecho acabo de sacar una campaña, Jorge, quiero darle una especie de homenaje a los latinos y demostrar que los latinos venimos... se le pueden decir hombre, pero la mejor manera de contestarle a Trump es con hechos. Este próximo jueves 10 en The Walk of Fame, No, If I Can Help It. Y ahí empieza el sketch. Entonces, es un poco burlarnos de que este hombre, a pesar de que estamos haciendo las cosas bien en este país, o gente como tú, Jorge, que nos representa también, este hombre sigue insistiendo en querer deportar a los latinos, que venimos a trabajar Pues el humor para mí siempre ha sido mi mejor arma, Jorge. A veces uno quiere gritar las peores cosas en contra de ellos y a veces no siempre funciona. A veces se te voltea y te toman como agresivo y demás. Entonces, para mí la mejor manera de contestar, la mejor manera de aquí a que terminen las elecciones, haré lo posible y lo imposible porque este señor no llegue a la presidencia y por no quedarme callado y de la manera que sea. Y estoy de acuerdo, Jorge, yo creo que lo peor es quedarse callados. Así es que yo invito tanto a los políticos como a los actores, a los escritores, a toda la gente que sea pública, a no quedarnos callados, porque pasa mucho eso, Jorge, que sobre todo en las redes sociales, los que son más. Pero no, lo que pasa es que los buenos luego nos quedamos callados, leemos una nota, decimos, pues sí o no, estamos de acuerdo, pero se quedan callados. Yo creo que no hay que quedarse callados. Yo no coincido con eso de la política. Okay. Yo creo que sí hay que abrir la boca, yo creo que sí hay que...
de Hollywood, que yo crecí, estaba yo preparar toda esta producción y espero que...
Tiempo de mi vida. Y esta película en especial, no sabes el tiempo que les ha quitado. It took me 12 years to realize this dream. I was working and polishing the script because I wanted to have this mix of comedy and heart. And I think we
We have a beautiful, beautiful film, touching. I was inspired by Life is Beautiful. When I saw Life is Beautiful, I decided I want to do something like this. And I think that Instructions Not Included has this mix of comedy and heart. Well, I hope so. I really fell in love with directing. This is for me, from being an actor to being a director. And especially, it was especially hard in this one because I'm acting and directing at the same time. And when you do acting and directing in your first film as a director, it's really, really hard. But I think I can do it.
Real soon again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. Don't miss it. Instructions not included.
Very strong. He takes risks. Very brave. In Paris, and we trained like 2 hours in the morning. A strange, edgy Mary Poppins who can transform herself into a bird. You know, I don't get to play that kind of role very often. The book by Ransom Riggs was, you know, was wonderful and helped me to create the character a lot. But also kind of Tim added new elements to the character. You know, in the book she's kind of, and you know, with Tim kind of like it's based in the 40s and she's kind of a bit like rockin'. Costume, hair and makeup for an actor is so important. It helps you to really get into the skin of the character. And here, you know, and you know, kind of a strange hairdo. I know my hairdresser got inspired by Marilyn Monroe's kind of photographs and added that kind of a flittle. We didn't want to be kind of obvious, oh my God, look, I can transform into a bird. So it's more, yeah, the essence. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the thing about Tim is that he works quite often with the same people. So it's like a family, it's very relaxed. There's no pressure from the studios or anything, which is wonderful. They really trust feeling happy. It's a happy set. He's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's as if he has like several people in his head. And it's just clones. It's just, I think, and we all feel a bit strange at some, you know, sometimes maybe people more than, you know, of course this movie is for children, teenagers, adults, lots of teenagers feel a bit weird. Adolescence is a strange time where you feel like an outsider. So I think, yeah, young adults will, you know, also really identify with you. Embrace who you are. Be weird, be peculiar. It's okay. It actually makes you. Yeah, I mean, first of all, we were very lucky because we were in real surroundings. This house sometimes can look quite bossy and like a commanding general, but it's because she loves her kids so much. She wants them to respect the rules. She can be a bit scary, but she's actually, you know, extremely kind, have a big heart, and her children are her life. She's ready to die for them, and it's very strong. I would look at the time all the time if I had a watch. I don't have a watch, I don't have an agenda. So there's always a bit of a struggle, and I was quite shy, so maybe that and like, oh, you know, how am I gonna deal with life and shyness? It's very true. Yeah. I mean, you know, when I was in drama school, my teacher saw that I was roles like Lady Macbeth to play, like big bada-boom roles to get out of myself, and kind of that kind of, yeah, maybe enabled me to channel all my Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's so nice to play other people, to not, yeah, it would be very boring to play myself. But yeah, it's so great, you know, to be able to fly, to play a bird, and, you know, costume is super important for an actor. It really helps you to build a character, helps you to find the physicality of the character. As an armor on the red carpet, I think I always feel very vulnerable, and so I need, like, I do the thing, yeah, and they kind of course, and at the end they kind of add some CGI magic. It's a challenge, and it's fun to play a woman and a bird, and it's only in a Tim Burton film that you would be able to do that. And you know. She keeps saying, like, you have to do like flat tongue, little mouth. Well, it's inspired by a graphic novel.
Yes.
So I was like, oh my God, no, it's impossible. You know, I'm gonna wear a corset or some underwear. And the director, Robert Rodriguez, was like, you have to be naked. You know, I will do it with taste and style. And I knew, you know, the First in City was rather beautiful. It's like kind of film noir. It is beautiful.
It is, yeah.
You know, it's not vulgar. It's not. Embrace the idea, and it's not gratuitous for the character. She kind of uses her sexuality as, you know, it's a weapon. It's part of her. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, my mother is an actress, so she kind of understands. But my father, my sister, they're so...
Sister?
And my sister. Because, the first movie I did was, it's called The Dreamers by Bertolucci. And it had some risque, and my father was so shocked. I mean, I completely understand, so...
Yeah.
It's as if it never existed. Well, I think she's a very, very cool character. They're very complex and kind of an individualist, hungry for life, wanting to explore everything at a time when women were very, very repressed. And yeah, she's just a very, strong woman. She decides. Yeah, she's her own woman, and she's one of the most difficult roles I've had to play. So lots of home asking that. I think lots of actors are very scared in real life, and that's why we are actors. We can play people who are so brave and who can do crazy hell. And she's kind of built this armor in order to survive. And she's you discover the cracks episode after episode. There's a long journey, and that's the best thing. I mean, that's the good thing about TV at the same time, because you have time to explore a character and to show so many colors. So yeah, I think it takes a little while for the audience to understand Vanessa, and then complete different story. And I kind of got inspired more by Cleopatra. It was kind of major. It was very important that we understand why she's so cruel. It's very important as a baddie to find some jubilation. Otherwise it becomes, so it required just a few hours of rehearsal of, okay, you're gonna... Miss Peregrine is a kind of Mary Poppins on speed. She's kind of like, quite bonkers, and her name is Miss Peregrine because she can turn into a peregrine falcon. And a peregrine falcon is a bird of prey and is the fastest animal on the planet. So sometimes Miss Peregrine speaks extremely rapidly.
And she
can't waste time. And she smokes the pipe. She uses a crossbow. So she's kind of a very cool, scary Mary Poppins. We kind of rehearsed a tiny bit before, but also, it's happening in the 40s. It's quite British. Distance at the same time. I wanted to be kind of like a mother figure, but for them to be a bit impressed by my character.
Sure.
So at the beginning I kept a bit of distance, and then we really, got on, and the children are very professional, and he has so much heart. I love people who are so passionate about things, and there's something very humble, and the fact that he listens as well to the actors. He really wants their input, and that's quite rare, at his level anyway. And it's such a joy to be on set as well. Everybody is happy, they know each other. Yeah, I kind of got inspired by, like the music of Janis Joplin, the kind of the animal music, and also Betty Davis in her bonkers roles. Jack Nicholson also sometimes for his, he's always on the edge. But many things, and there's also something quite human about her. Oh my God, I'm gonna disappoint, and I have to do this bloody American. Oh my God, I was very stressed, but Tim was so supportive, and we talked a lot before, so I kind of got used to him. Then I was pinching myself every day. Oh my God, I'm in a Tim Burton film, but. He makes you feel very at ease, very comfortable. So by the time I was, shooting, that was fine. There's no pressure on set. It's all very relaxed. It could be almost like an independent feature. I mean, I didn't know anything about Dark Shadows, so when I got the part, I looked up on internet to see what it was. Dark and interesting, but my character Angelique is quite far from the original character, so he's very brave. It's kind of old monster makeup, kind of Nosferatu years ago, and it's a very brave choice, I find, and he's very easy, very open, like Tim. They're very kind people, and very open, and they understand also that it must be kind of scary for somebody from the outside, come into their world, and they're very open and patient, and they always ask, it is physical. It was very funny actually, because we kept making fun of it, because we were saying, oh, it looks like two puppets making love. You know, it's kind of wooden and
Totally real. They
Okay.
worked so hard.
and you know, just lots, and they can't drink. I mean, it's just, you know, they really have to behave. You know, it's like an intense training. I was a bit worried at the beginning to not had been, you know, real water, because I get seasick, and you know, the fact that I was like, oh my God, is it gonna move? And no, thank God. I mean, to me, it was the best thing. Think too much and too much in my head, and that was like, just go for it. Training, and it also, you know, it helped me. Really cool and brave. It's brilliant. My character is really loosely based on the real character Artemisia. I think we should do like an opera. This film. It's very ambitious. It's
Kind of do a British accent. American, I mean, I worked like mad, like with a dialect coach.
Oh.
So the muscles are quite...
It reminded me of the old days, and also I see the character of Miss G, like, and the way she was, you know, behaving, and very precious, very delicate, over the top a bit, and it's great when you and I don't know. I mean, I think lots of people have felt a bit weird and peculiar, at least once in their lives. It's like the message in this movie. It's just, you know, how to live with your peculiarity, have a lot of authority, but at the same time, you know, her children adore her. So to find the right balance, you know, and especially in those days, in 1940, there was lots of respect between, you know, parents, children, and needs to be respected. The children needs to respect her rules, otherwise, yeah, I mean, you know, if a child is late, you know, if he's not showing up at 4:40, then it could kind of throw off her timetable, and it could mess too much to your children, I think, when you get scared, you know, when you find yourself in danger. So it's to protect her children. You know, she doesn't want, but it had to scare me. It had to end well at the same time. But I wanted a witch in the fairy tale, you know, and otherwise it's not fun. It has to be, you know, scary, exciting. If it's all wonderful and rosy, there are moments of darkness. So I think children kind of are getting prepared to life with fairy tales. You know, I mean, you have Bambi, who people would be able to do movies like this anymore. But at least, you know, in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, it is scary, but you know, it's very Tim Burton, so it remains quite light, weirdly, and funny and poetic. It's not just characters that are quite complex and dense, and I'm not doing movies just because it's supernatural. I don't really... Habillés, tous les hommes sont pratiquement nus autour. Et au début, on peut pas s'en empêcher, on les regarde sans arrêt, et puis après on vient... The challenge was probably to play such a strange character, you know, like a strange Mary Poppins, but also kind of a bird woman, without being too obvious. Mary Poppins, because she has lots of rules, her children has to follow her rules, and then the whole loop is going to go wrong, and they might be in great danger. So that's why she's so strict. She speaks quite clear and quite fast as Mary Poppins, but I like to call her Speedy Poppins. Now sometimes like she takes some speed. You know, there's something not quite right about her. Cuckoo-ness about her, I find, you know, because, you know, to live the same day every single day. So there's that edge to her that is kind of nice to kind of tame, but it's kind of laid back. He's open to ideas, and he's very humble, you know, that you're not enfant. Elle a ce côté comme ça un petit peu strict, mais derrière il y a cette
Yes, but that's not very useful. And Imbrine's main skill is...
En français, il faut trouver un projet en français qui me plaise pour pouvoir peut-être avoir plus de liberté, parce que ma langue première est le français. L'anglais, ça m'a toujours plu. J'aurais pu être prof d'anglais, peut-être, je sais pas, mais it's kind of liberating to play evil, you know, because I mean I'm so kind of reserved, but it was a great opportunity for me to do, you know, an action film, to be fair, and then the sword fighting I kind of improved, and then you go, wow, I can do it now. You know, food is too important. I love my foie gras and my pasta and my baguette. Simple stuff like, I don't know, fish or pasta. She's kind of bonkers in a nice way, you know, she's
Like she has all those rules, she's very strict, she can seem quite tough with the children, but it's all for the good. It's a character that, has a big heart and would be ready to sacrifice herself for her. So it was kind of a very exciting role and a challenge to play a woman who can transform into a bird as well. Tim Burton movies, you're always a bit, I think, scared that you would do too much, but at the same time you go, okay, I have to be brave, I have to do something a bit edgy. And yeah, the challenge was like to combine the bird and the woman, kind of like to find like the right physicality, the sharp head, but at the same time, to find the humanity in her. That's the thing that kind of drew me actually to the part is, I watched a few times. Really? Yeah, so there, I must be weird. I don't know. And sometimes you think you're a bit sad. You're like, oh, it's not a good thing, is it? Yeah. Because, yeah, sometimes you want to fit into the mold, or it's kind of a strange thing. And as a child, I was super shy. I kind of tamed my demons, and now I'm giving interviews, and I'm an actor. I can't believe that. Yeah, it's what this movie is about. It's like, accept who you are. Be strange. That's what makes you beautiful. Several moments, but I loved, when I introduced Jake to my peculiar children, we shot apiaries. I felt like I was in Edward Scissorhands. There was like a dinosaur, an elephant, and I was like, oh my God, this is... No, I mean, the visual effect people are the best to ask that, but they put you on wires, and but you do kind of the first half of the transformation, and they kind of like add their magic afterwards. It's not like who are a bit different. It's lots of actors want to play kind of something other than yourself, or some. Yeah. My character was quite full on and very kind of layers to her. You have that kind of tough Mary Poppins, very strict. There's a vulnerable side and as well. There's a kind of like she's a mother figure who would be ready to sacrifice herself for her children, and yeah, of course there would be a long TV show.
C'est vraiment, ça pourrait être un film en japonais, en arabe. Pour moi, c'est comme une histoire d'amour. Je veux m'investir à fond, et c'est pas, c'est pas mal.
Calm down, da da da. But he gives us so much freedom. It's fun. We feel like children again. It's a metaphor for their kind of love-hate relationship, but it's also very funny. It reminded me when I saw it of Team America. Is cracking up mentally, and also physically. So I kind of, and that was kind of fun to, go all the way and not be the pretty femme fatale. And also, whatever, I just had green dots on my face. I didn't know what I was going to look like in the end. It's all special.
I was so worried at the beginning when they told me that, but then you just have, if you have a real human being, a real actor in front, it would look like, I was kind of glad that there was no water because I'm seasick. So I was like, is the book... Sometimes you wish it was red or purple, and I was traumatized as a child. Her whole family got killed. She's Greek by birth, and she was rescued by the king of the Persian Empire, and he, because she finds him such a brilliant strategist, and she comes to admire the commander of the Greek navy that is battling with the Persian navy that is led by Artemis.
It's quite similar. I mean, she's still very enigmatic, and she's. I mean, of course, it's not. The story is not exactly the same. It's happening today. With a terrorist. Likes the fact that he's quite tough. He's trying to be tough, and I'm bold.
She's like putting herself on tape and tries to commit suicide several times. It's quite dramatic, but sometimes it's quite funny. She's a real artist. It's not self-indulgent at all, and it's quite a lot of fun actually. And it's a journey of self-discovery. And at the end, because I worked a lot with Roisin Carty, my dialect coach, and she's really great because we try to work on the voices, like on the voice of Emilia. It's quite cracky and very low and dark. And then you have the, Sally, who is more high pitch and very light, and Sally has red hair. She looks like she's coming straight from. It was great, the makeup artist and the hairdresser, because she helped a lot for also Emilia. Also, she is a real artist.
And the great thing about Angelique is she has that kind of business lights, but she also has kind of this red dress that is very glamorous, everything to seduce Barnabas. Barnabas is her weak point, So she finds herself in time scene, you know, because my scenes with Johnny are really dramatic and tense, and that scene was rather light, and it was quite kind of difficult to keep a straight face, you know. They are really dramatic and tense, and that scene was rather light, and it was quite kind of difficult to keep a straight face, you know. We to kind of, she starts as a servant, so black hair, and then little by little her hair gets lighter, and she becomes that kind of Barbie. It was a wonderful experience. I had the opportunity to play all these different characters, always very glamorous, elegant, human, and the fact that Bond fell in love with her kind of made her special, and a very romantic story. It's a love story set against the back. Je dirais Édouard aux mains d'argent, parce que ça me rappelle beaucoup la personnalité. C'est une gouvernante assez atypique, on va dire, protectrice, gardienne de ses enfants, prête à tout pour les protéger. Oui, bien sûr, un metteur en scène qui a des entrailles et un rôle assez très femme fatale. Pour être femme fatale, non, je pense que j'ai joué des femmes fortes, mais qui ont eu toujours des faiblesses ou une certaine fragilité. Ce jeune adulte qui va finir par se trouver et accepter sa kind of an edgy Mary Poppins. So I kind of watched Mary Poppins. I got inspired by Julie Andrews a bit. And the fact that she turned into a bird, I kind of watched documentaries on birds, the way they move, very sharp movements of the head. And peregrine falcon is a bird of prey, and it's the fastest animal on the planet. So sometimes I've got there's a speech where I have to speak super fast. So it was very fun to do, and I would call her kind of Speedy Poppins or something like, as if, it's a Mary Poppins of really try to own every word, and it was fun. It was I can't remember the dialogue, but it was very funny when I kind of me. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know. I've so many people have said I've always been weird, and it's kind of like, what does that mean, weird? You take it a bit like not well, actually, when somebody says that. It's like, oh, I'm not like the other. But I think, I don't know, it's maybe because I'm shy or I don't talk much. I've kind of, through the years, I kind of tried to tame my demons, and this is who I am. And yeah, I mean, it's so boring to be like anybody else, it's you have to be brave and go, okay. It's okay to show. It's such a difficult question, because I mean, I wouldn't want to live the same day every day. I think I would end up in I don't know, or a nice holiday that I've been to. I went to Africa recently, in Tanzania, and that was pure magic. And he was my hero as growing up. So to be able to play wacko characters, is such a gift. I'm pinching myself every day, like, oh my God, I'm in a Tim Burton movie, and it's just, he's such a beautiful human being as well, very normal, I mean, I find him very normal, very funny, very vulnerable, not afraid of...
Well, yeah, it is a fun role, it's she's such a big character, everything is kind of bada boom with her, it's magnified, her pain, her jealousy, her love, and it's fun to play evil, it's kind of boring to play kind of the girlfriend or the naive, in touch with the child within himself, and there's something, he takes pleasure in everything he does, and that's quite contagious, so that was a real pleasure, yeah, and I just hope people will have fun watching.
It's my third project in Dublin. And an Apple box to, like, if you're in a car or something, you just have to imagine all your surroundings.
Hispanics, do have some conservative values, whether it's through religion or upbringing or community. We can't deny the fact that most of the millennials are Hispanic, the people that are coming up, which means they're young, which means they've grown up with a more tolerant view of the world, whether it's sexual equality, marriage equality, equal pay, reproduction rights. I mean, and I'm hoping that this younger generation, which tends to be largely, will help with those issues that particularly we're having here in Texas. So it'll be interesting. I think Hispanics is voter education. I mean, just making them aware of how policies disproportionately affect them, whether it's access to healthcare or access to quality education or access to reproductive freedom. A lot of people want to know, well, how does this affect And I think that's all Americans, but specifically with Hispanics. So we want to make sure that there's no apathy, that there's true engagement and knowing how does this affect your pocketbook. At the end of the day, if you vote for this candidate has done this and this and this, or this candidate has not passed this and this and this. And so sometimes when you just break it down into how does this affect me? Why should I vote? You have to have a good answer for that, and that's what everybody's out there is asking, especially in the Hispanic community. Do I matter? Is interesting and effective because they're very grassroots oriented, and I think that was the success of being on the Obama campaign and seeing their ground operation. It really takes a door-to-door approach, and I think that's something. Futuro Fund, which helped fundraise for the national election. And we had such success. We raised over $32 million with over 150,000 donors. So that's a lot of donations. And a lot of people that we went to for donations were people who had never been asked before. And so we tapped into a whole new, not only donor base, but a whole new community that wants to be involved and wants to have a voice. So after the national election was done, we wanted to continue to harness this new community that wanted to be involved and wanted to be engaged, and we decided to start the Latino Victory Project. And it has two arms. There's a PAC side, and then there's also a charity side in which we are trying to develop a pipeline of Latino candidates who represent American values, and we want to support that pipeline. That would be the goal. We don't want to have to go and target certain races to make sure that our candidates win. And you know, with Citizens United and the amount of money being poured into certain campaigns, that doesn't necessarily produce the best candidate. So Latino Victory Project is having to go and support these candidates who really represent amazing American values, but who are losing or are in a really tight race because of, and so, you know, the ultimate dream is that we don't need a Latino Victory Project, and whether it's sexual equality, marriage equality, equal pay, reproduction rights. I mean, and I'm hoping that this younger generation, which tends to be largely, will help with those issues that particularly we're having here in Texas. So it'll be interesting. I think you know, his voter education. I mean, just making them aware of how policies disproportionately affect them. Access to quality education or access to reproductive freedom. A lot of people want to know, people have a plan. They have an idea of what they need and where they need to go, and is interesting and effective because they're very grassroots oriented. And I think that was the success of being on the Obama campaign and seeing their ground operation. It really takes a door-to-door approach, and I think that's something. Futuro Fund, which helped fundraise for the national election. And we had such success. We raised over Hispanics, you know, do have some conservative values, whether it's through religion or upbringing or community. We can't deny the fact that most of the millennials are Hispanic, the people that are coming up, which means they're young, which means they've grown up with, it really disenfranchises many groups. There's many people who will have to drive 300 miles to the place to get the proper identification and then drive back, and that's an undue burden. When you have an undue burden, it is not reasonable to put that restraint. And the interesting thing is, you know, I don't know why United States makes it harder for people to vote. Many other countries vote on a Saturday, they vote on weekends, they have extended early voting. Some countries it's against the law if you don't vote. I mean, we'll never go to that extreme, but it's interesting how hard we fought to really make the vote open to everybody, but yet we kind of limit it to only a Tuesday, and early voting shorter, and now uniquely with Hispanics. So we want to make sure that there's no apathy, that there's true engagement and knowing how does this affect your pocketbook. At the end of the day, if you vote for this candidate has done this and this and this, or this candidate has not passed this and this and this. And so sometimes when you just break it down into how does this affect me? Why should I vote? You have to have a good answer for that, and that's what everybody's out there is asking, especially in the Hispanic community. Do I that I was thinking of before the idea of telenovela came to mind, but I was a very big fan of telenovelas growing up. I was in a soap opera in my career. One of the first breaks I got was Young and the Restless. And I loved behind the scenes comedies like Soap Dish and 30 Rock and Soap in the 70s with Billy Crystal. I mean, there was all, Tootsie, there were so many funny things that were happening behind the scenes, way funnier than what was happening in front of the cameras. And so I always thought, oh, it would be funny to have a TV series where it was behind the scenes of a soap opera, but instead of a normal soap opera, what if it was a telenovela? Which is, I think raises the stakes because they're more melodramatic and they're heightened, and it's the most popular genre in the world. And so we wanted to celebrate it, and this was like our big love tropes. We definitely bring out, whether it's a wind machine or a stare down or slapping. The stories we get are real life things that have happened. There was a soap actress who would, a telenovela actress who would randomly slap people in scenes. You never knew if you were going to get slapped. There's another woman who would get up on ladders and move her own lights. Another telenovela actress whose assistant was poisoning her in real life. So yeah, this is we just kind of go, oh, let's just pull from this real world. So this is the first time I'm in a true half-hour sitcom comedy. And of course, physical. I love physical comedy. And when I read this script, I thought, oh my gosh, I love Ana Sofia. I love where her comedy comes from, which is her insecurities and her desperation to want to be more, do more, and be relevant. And so it was a lot of fun, kind of flexing my comedy muscles. It is. I fell off the bed, I tweaked my shoulder, I banged my knee, falling off a piano. I mean, it was a lot of fun though, because it's a side people kind of saw a little bit of and liked. But comedy is all about timing and all about the rhythm of the words and the pace of the editing and the pace of the camera choreography. So that's why I wanted to produce the show that I was going to be in, and that's why I like producing comedies. Because it's not just up to the actor to make it funny. The music can cue a joke. The way we edit it also lends itself to making it funnier or not as funny. And so I needed to have my hands in all aspects of the final product. And so for comedy, I think specifically that's very important. Even when we're on set and I'm directing actors or talking to actors, I'm like, no, it's da-da-da, that line, that there's a rhythm to comedy that you have to get. Don't move on the joke, say the joke and then move, and so so many. I love everything about Ana Sofia. What I love is she's exact opposite of Gabby, Gabby Solis from Housewives. Gabby was narcissistic and confident, and she's super insecure, she's super fragile, she needs her friends, she hides behind Mimi, she gets herself into trouble, doesn't know how to crawl out of it. And that's been so much fun and unexpected. I also, I like that she's a fish out of water in this world, which kind of comes from my upbringing. I grew up in Texas not speaking Spanish, but yet being Latina, so kind of never getting the joke or not really quite fitting in and having one foot in and one foot out. And I feel like the future generations of Hispanics in the United States feel that way. They feel that, I'm not as tied to my language or culture as so, but I still feel Latino, I still feel Mexican, I still feel connected to my culture. So when we did focus groups of the pilot, that was one of the #1 things Hispanics said was, I love that Ana Sofia doesn't speak Spanish, because I don't speak Spanish, but yet I am Hispanic, and I'm very proud of it. And so it was interesting to see that was does is really focus on two paths for women. The first being their educational journey, the second entrepreneur programs, because Latinas start small businesses at 6 times the national average, and so they don't have access to capital, they don't have access to business training, so we want to kind of nurture that. But prior to that, just getting them out of high school is a challenge. Latinos in the United States are we have the largest the least access to higher education, the least access to resources. The disparity in Hispanic education is so great that we have so much ground to make up, and that's why my foundation wants to focus on not only the Latino community, but specifically on women in the Latino community who are multiplying factors. If you help a woman, she'll help her family. And so for me, it was very important to go back, get my master's degree, and be the example that I want to see in young women. And so whether I do it through the media or TV or acting or producing or directing or my philanthropy, I just want a family of women My mother's super strong. I have 9 aunts. I have 3 sisters. So I was amazing women who were educated, who had careers, not a job, but they had careers. They had families. I was the last person in my family to get a master's degree. So I never like to say them because everything gets stuck in development and then people go, what happened to that one? But yeah, we have 6 projects in these 3 dramas. You know, some are Latino themed, some are not. But you know, hopefully with the large amount of different distribution channels now, you will see more content distributed from my production company, because I just feel like, you know, I'm championing female leads, I'm championing the Latino community, and I'm championing funny. Like I just want, we literally get pages day by day. We don't even have a full script when we're shooting. I mean, it's like here, and so I don't know what's happening, and if I did, I would, or have a phobia. We go, no, not knowing at all what the context was or whatever, and then we get there and they go, so Marcia, you're going to be chasing the frogs, and one's going to be on Eva's shoulder, and I was like, what? So I said, how did it not? I mean, every aspect of my life has been touched by the show. Absolutely, and you're right. What you talked about earlier is because I am so public and I am pretty open about myself and about my marriage. I was, you know, and you go, oh my God, I have to deal with this, and it was hard. It was devastating. Magic here, but again, it's my first, so it's my you know, first experience. I think there's something beautiful to a recommitment to the people of this great nation, and to see them you know, do that today. I saw Vice President get sworn in earlier. Yes, and you know, there's a lot of magic happening. Sonia Sotomayor being the first Hispanic to swear in a president was a big moment for us in our community. So there's a lot of first policy. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to do my part as a citizen and my part as a Hispanic and as a woman and as an American. So you know, I enjoy it. I think everybody should civically engage in a level that would affect policy. That's the point. That's how our government is. You know, there was a historic mobilization this election with the Latino vote. You know, the most contentious issue that you guys were talking about is citizenship, and there's many tenets to it. And when people say, "Oh, get in the back of the line," and you didn't get in the back of the line, people don't realize there's 100 lines to get into, and if you're in that line, then you weren't supposed to be in that line. You got to go in that. I mean, it's a very broken system. And what I am hopeful about is that this administration, and particularly President Obama, sees that immigration is an economic issue. It's also, for me, a humanitarian issue. But if we approach it economically, we have to understand that we are dependent upon a labor in this country, specifically agriculture, to provide low-cost products. And there are jobs that nobody else is coming around to the idea that they're going to have to compromise with the president on a lot of issues, immigration being one of them. Because immigration in particular, I think the Republicans are going to realize if they don't do it because it's morally imperative, they have to do it because it's politically imperative. And if they're not going to do it because it's politically imperative, they got to do it because it's economically imperative. So there's a lot of gains for everybody, no matter what party affiliation, to get this done and to fix this problem. But no, right now I've always said the power is with the citizen. I love doing what I do. I think, you know, it's interesting, and it's all of our responsibility to be involved in the way I'm involved, and you know, I'm not running for office. Politicians do. I think it's a very, very big job. It's their day job. It's not my day job. So I'm just doing what I can to help the communities in which. Process was funny because I was the first character cast. I was the first one to go in on casting, and how many I have, but yeah, somebody had my name, and I called and I said I got to get my name, and they were like, you have to prove you're Eva Longoria, and it took me weeks to prove that it was me. I'm like, no, it's TP9 Network. And I was like, everybody, this is my husband's real Twitter. And I put TP Network, which was a porn. But he was trying to make a surprise party, and I knew all about it. And he was trying to surprise me with a lot of things. And I'm a nosy bitch. And he was like, oh my God, leave me alone. Can't I just surprise you? But he better mate for Mario. She's fantastic. Because, you know, it takes a strong woman to date Mario Lopez. And she 80% philanthropy. That's my passion. It's my love. I mean, you know, I grew up with a special needs sister, so I really care about the mental disability community and special needs and Down syndrome. And then the Latino community, which I do a lot of advocacy and activism for, because there's just still so much injustice. And so I want to
call me, I say yes. Anytime I call you, you say yes. But like the main thing right now that I'm really pushing are two things. We'll talk about Haiti, and unfortunately they don't have the infrastructure to rebuild the homes fast. And so we are trying to do a tent drive because rainy season is starting in about a week. And these people, if you haven't died yet in Haiti, you have a high chance. I have given it thought. I don't know what the answer is. I find sometimes politicians are locked into not helping as much as citizens. I really believe power is in being a...
Présider le Global Gift Gala ce soir by Shiva avec Omar Sy. Deux associations viennent aider aux enfants du monde entier. Et Hispanics, you know, do have some conservative values, whether it's through religion or upbringing or community. We can't deny the fact that most of the millennials are Hispanic, the people that are coming up, which means they're young, which means they've grown up with a more tolerant view of the world, whether it's sexual equality, marriage equality, equal pay, reproduction rights. I mean, and I'm hoping that this younger generation, which tends to be largely will help with those issues that particularly we're having here in Texas. So it'll be interesting. I think you know, his voter education. I mean, just making them aware of how policies disproportionately affect them, whether it's access to health care or access to quality education or access to, I have a good answer for that. And that's what everybody's out there is asking, especially in the Hispanic community. Do I matter? The question that it disenfranchises a certain population, whether you're poor, or you're a person of color, or you live in rural, it really disenfranchises many, many groups. There's many people who will have to drive 300 miles to the place to get the proper identification and then drive back, and that's an undue burden. When you have an undue burden, it is not reasonable to put that restraint. And the interesting thing is, you know, I don't know why United States makes it harder for people to vote. Many other countries vote on a Saturday, they vote on weekends, they have extended early voting. Some countries it's against the law if you don't vote. I mean, we'll never go to that extreme, but it's interesting how hard we fought to really make the vote open to everybody, but yet we kind of limit it to only a Tuesday, and early voting shorter, and now you this documentation. So that's what we're doing today, is really going out and making sure people have a plan. They have an idea of what they need and where they need to go, and how long it will take, and that they can really allot the time. Is interesting and effective because they're very grassroots oriented. And I think that was the success of being on the Obama campaign and seeing their ground operation. It really takes a door-to-door approach, and I think that's something. Futuro Fund, which helped fundraise for the national election, and we had such success. We raised over $32 million with over 150,000 donors. So that's a lot of donations, and a lot of people that we went to for donations were people who had never been asked before. And so we tapped into a whole new, not only donor base, but a whole new community that wants to be involved and wants to have a voice. So after the national election was done, we wanted to continue to harness this new community that wanted to be involved and wanted to be engaged, and we decided to start the Latino Victory Project. And it has two arms. There's a PAC side, and then there's also a charity side in which we are trying to develop a pipeline of Latino candidates who represent American values, and we want to support that pipeline. That would be the goal. We don't want to have to go and target certain races to make sure that our candidates win. And you know, with Citizens United and the amount of money being poured into certain campaigns, that doesn't necessarily produce the best candidate. So Latino Victory Project is having to go and support these candidates who really represent amazing American values, but who are losing or are in a really tight race because of, and so, you know, the ultimate dream is that we don't need a Latino Victory Project in the future, that it's a fair playing ground with people who are socially constructed that way to just be inferior or subservient, and you don't have to be. You can be yourself and really hold your own by yourself. And no matter when to audition for the role of Gabrielle, and it was my 7th audition of the day, and I was changing in my and then this was the 7th one of the day, and I was like, Gabby, oh, and I had to read her really quick, and then I went into the audition episodes per year, which was 11 months of filming throughout the year. So we basically had 4 weeks off every year.
Wow.
And it was grueling. I mean, it was, 18-hour days for 11 months of the year, all year round. It was just so much that, and then plus, we had fully mined all the characters. I mean, I couldn't have one more affair. Like, yeah, no, it was so much fun, but I wasn't quite prepared for the end until the last episode of shooting where they go, this is the last time we'll be in this kitchen, and I go, what? On Wisteria Lane, and they go, this is the last day we're going to be on Wisteria Lane, and we had 3 more days of shooting. And this is the last time we're going to be on Wisteria. Like, every time it was some scene, I wasn't quite ready to let go at that moment, and it was bitter. They're bickering, but with women, they wanted to do that to us all the time, and we just sat back and enjoyed the ride. She's she's in this world of this soap opera, but it's behind the scenes. My ex-husband comes back to work with me, and we hate each other. So it's a bit of War of the Roses and Desperate Housewives. So if I go back to television, it has to be even better. And I read a bunch of stuff over the years. First draft of it, I read it, and I said, oh my God, I'm going back to TV, because this is the funniest role I've ever. Complete opposite of Gabrielle. I mean, complete opposite of Gabby Solis. She's insecure, and she's, vulnerable. Yes, tonight I'm chairing the Global Gift Gala. This is our 5th year in London. We do them all over the world to use this platform of awareness and to raise funds.
Mrs. Parker and being a wife, and so when that's taken away from you, you go, who am I? Neither did I. But, like I said, I would never speak ill about him or the time we had any relationship, much less a marriage. And, I love the concept of marriage, and I loved being a wife, and I was very devoted. And I hated everybody who knows me, my friends, they know, we tried our hardest. We really, really tried, and it just didn't work. We had to play out so publicly, but he's not a bad person. He's just wanted something else. Well, like I said, you want different things, and what happens is, I would never speak publicly about what happened or why we got divorced. Because I love him, and we still talk. We still are. That's a loaded question. It's a big question too, and I think there's so much misinformation out there, and I want the expert in this field. Although I am pretty literate. I'm pretty literate in this particular issue, because of people that are in my life and my mentors and people that I surround myself with. Because I really want to understand. I think created a dialogue that we needed to have, and for immigration, it's been on the administration on the agenda for the party. Inherited a lot of problems. It's not easy being the president of the United States. Is there disappointment because immigration reform has not been tackled? Yes, there is. But people have to understand the history of immigration in our country, and so a lot of the people that are speaking out about it, even on this channels, they don't understand the history, especially of Mexicans or Mexican Americans.
I'm crying. No, it's a workplace comedy, very broad. I play the star of this Spanish soap opera.
I come from a very philanthropic family. My older sister had special needs, and so we were always involved in giving back and within community and community programs. And so for me, this was such a natural.
Really? Oh yeah, she was a wonderful one. She is a wonderful woman.
I'm a natural storyteller, but I also think that we need to become producer and directors and get behind. And that's like a big word. He doesn't dim my light. He's very proud. He's very supportive. He hates the red carpets. They're mind readers. They're so good. My assistants are so good. I go, I need it, and then they'll hand it about a telenovela, which is a Spanish soap opera. So it's a workplace comedy set behind the scenes of a telenovela. Who plays the star of the Spanish soap that we are behind the scenes of. She doesn't speak Spanish. She's very assimilated, but she has found herself here having fame and stardom on this Spanish soap opera. She's insecure and it's a lot of fun. She's clumsy. She's funny. She relies heavily on this workplace family. If it wasn't for these people that she works with, and really making sure, walking the line of honoring the telenovela and making sure that the size of our comedy is broad enough for everybody, but specific enough to make. Really was excited to discover new talent. I was excited to. Zachary Levi is one of my favorite human beings in the world as well. I love Zachary Levi. We've known each other since before Desperate Housewives. He was on a show called Less Than Perfect, and I was on ABC, and we've known each other, you know, since then, and became fast friends and longtime friends. And when we had this role, we thought, oh my gosh, you know who'd be great is Zachary Levi. And he was like, yeah. He plays the president of the Spanish network, and he's a white guy who speaks her. And I play Ana Sofia, who is the star of this Spanish soap, who does not speak Spanish. I mean, doesn't mean I'll answer it, but
No.
yeah. But I learned that in pageants, how to pivot. We always talked about the drama behind the scenes, but they would never do that about a show about men. I was surprised there was even a trial and that it went that far, because I love Nicolette and I love Mark Cherry and I love my name because it changed so many times.
Oh, okay.
And we never used the name Jill. We called each other Insky because that's my last name was Jill. Agent Marin. See, it changed. Like Agent Marin. That's what they call me. So I always forget my name was Jill. Is a rookie Secret Service agent who was assigned to Kiefer, and on her first day underneath Kiefer, there's a scandal that breaks out that there's a mole in the Secret Service. A little bit, yeah. I was excited to venture away from Desperate Housewives for a movie, and specifically early on in our Desperate Housewives phenomenon, I wanted to kind of branch out before people could only see me as Gabrielle, and I think this movie does that.
Yes.
It's extremely hard. This year I'm having a difficult time trying to fit in a movie because our hiatus gets shorter and shorter because we're doing more and more episodes and we have more and more countries to you know, cater to, and so it's really been difficult, but you know, I'm not complaining. My life is just that a girl outshot him. But you know, women in general are better shooters because they have a calmer hand. They don't have the adrenaline that the men do. But you know, I grew up shooting. I was just really comfortable with it, and I think it's important in movies like this that you sell it. That you sell the fact that you're comfortable and you are that person, you have gone through that training, because you can tell right away the character that she not use her looks to get her way, and that she is respected for her skill and her talent. And it is true, because we got to meet a lot of Secret Service agents that are currently you know, employed, and it is tough. It is a tough job, and you don't get anywhere by you know, only the best of the best will survive in this organization. And so to play it any other way would be a disservice. Well, like I said, I'm a rookie and I'm assigned to Kiefer, who's not really happy about it at the beginning until he discovers I'm actually beneficial to have around, because he can't trust anybody in the movie while he's solving this mystery, except for me, because I'm not jaded and I'm untainted by any influence. So he learns to trust me. And then I also studied with Michael in my backstory. You know that I've actually highly respect who Michael's character was. So I'm kind of caught in the middle because they're not seeing eye to eye on things, and I'm trying to keep peace through the movie and really expose the truth of what. And it's just high action. You saw it. You can't stop thinking and wondering. Also, you can't trust anybody. You know, you might think it's me, you might think it's Michael, you think it's Kiefer, so you don't know who it is. And very flattering, you know, because I grew up as the ugly duckling and this whole interview is going to be about Oprah. When they say, when was the one you knew you were famous? And it was when we hadn't even aired yet, but the show had so much buzz, and Oprah on the show. And I remember they came in the makeup trailer and they go, "We're going to Oprah," and I was overwhelmed. And I always remember that because she was so kind and she was so nice, and her presence. I have so much respect for why she does what she does. And so that moment, political opinion is shunned away or
entranced by the fantasy and the world that J.K. Rowling created. Not, you know, yeah, a fantasy world that we don't experience. I think it's interesting. It's like an escape, but it's not that you relate to it. And she's created some.
Well, I think because they're opposites in some senses, because he's someone who's always worried, he's always, his brain is always in conflict, and that comes across when you read the books. It's almost tiring because he never stops thinking about, he's really conscientious, and he has to, like Hermione tells me, he's a saving person thing, and he does. Whereas Luna really goes with the flow, you know, she's, where everyone's worried about being killed, she can do to stop the events that unfold. She just enjoys them, and I think she helps Harry calm down and realize he can. Luna's dad, Xenophilius, and it's just so much fun being part of the Lovegood clan. I think, and being Luna, you sometimes feel like you're the outsider, just something that goes with her. But when it was with her dad, I felt really relaxed and different. It's not like any of the ones before because they're not at Hogwarts anymore, and the sense that it's the 7th book, so. And this was the big question when the book came out: would Harry live or die? And that's the thing in the film. There's no Dumbledore. The Weasleys are gone. There's no one to protect them, and you have that sense that they're these teenagers out in the world, and they deepen Hagrid. I can't really get my old pictures in the head, but the ones who I'm friends with, they in the book they're not their character. French and I have my place, but I just think at the moment it's a really good time to. The whole film is just towards this battle. It's really big, and the special effects work really well with this, and the 3D. I was a bit skeptical about the 3D effects, but it works really well. And yeah, you'll just see every character kind of get a moment in it, and it's surprising because there is so much to pack in. But all the key characters that have been there throughout the series, they all come into their own. She's going to be wherever she's meant to be, and she doesn't. That's what you never see her worried. She's always just quite relaxed, and even in the battle scenes, she'll never start sobbing hysterically because she's always very sort of can only be positive, and it's the right way of thinking. Like worry doesn't get anyone anywhere, and I think she's a very spiritual character that she and also the way she sees herself, whereas they don't have all this self-doubt or self-angst or anything that some people in our society do, because they believe they're part of nature and they're perfect for that reason, and that's the way Luna is, and that's why she's always so calm and trusting. So yeah, I think fate is a big part. And I think Hermione and J.K. Rowling, when there's no evidence, purely because there's no evidence to the contrary, she just likes to keep an open mind. Whereas Hermione, everything has to be like the whole purpose of his life is so the whole purpose of his life is so deeply rooted in his past, and it's such a long stretch of time. And I think it's just amazing. And as Harry says, he was the bravest man he knew. He gave up his whole life to. Like when I would put on her clothes, they were just really colourful and bright, and so unlike what anyone else would wear. Things and it's lovely. It's such a relief to not, because I suppose I would generally worry more than her, and you're being talked about and you're worrying what are people saying, but when I'm playing Luna, I don't have that. I think he's a little bit self-conscious, and everyone's against him in the 5th book, and he doesn't want it by her, and she's wise. She has really good insight into people, cause she doesn't have any friends. And then when she likes Harry, and then doing this army, she wanted to go to learn the magic, but also to make friends. She's not a loner, although she's. I asked him what it was like working with these older veteran actors, but I wasn't bothered about them. So and I remember my meeting with him very, very clearly the first time. It was at my screen test, so I hadn't even got the part then. So aside from being just terrified, just paralyzed with nerves about actually auditioning. Wow. I was just that day was such a blur, and I remember coming in, I hadn't got my costume on, and just. I did. I had 2 butterbeers. We were on stage. We were doing a live leaky mug. Yeah, it's even worse, because I've had this not just for the films. I've had it since I was 8. So I mean, I don't even really know what kind of person I was before I had Harry Potter. Because it's my last stop on the Harry Potter tour. Because the premiere, it's really fun, but you don't see a lot of your friends. It's so big, huge, and just lots of people you don't know. And it was lovely because it's like I have been feeling quite down about this going out after the first experience. Going through, and that you can talk to someone that say how sad you. I did the lion hat. I designed that. But do you know what? I hope that people take from. She really likes it because she doesn't have any friends, and then when she likes Harry. He was doing this army. She wanted to go to learn the magic, but also to make friends. She's not a loner, although she's alone. She kind of I don't know. No one likes me. I'm the very for all the love you've shown to me and to all the members of the Harry Potter cast, and thank you for passing on. I learned from her that by having that, by not worrying, you save yourself a lot of trouble. They don't do anything. They're trying to protect us from from failing, but they actually don't change. She's too much at one with herself that she doesn't need to. So, and people just were like always asking like, how does it be that?
Almost a little bit. I was a little bit at first like, ooh, that's a bit, you know, I don't. But I think coming back here when I'm like, that was before I came back here. When I came back here 2 days ago and saw it and met the people who are running it, I'm really happy now about this, and I'm happy that it's become a studio tour, so that it's always going to be there. It's not like packed in boxes, and it's not like it never exists. It's like Leavesden is now the home of Harry Potter, which is such a nice thing. And we've seen some of the people coming through, and their reactions are just amazing and so rewarding. And it's like it's almost, yeah, absolutely. Walking through the Great Hall, especially, I remember all the scenes I did with friends and like was in, and I love those scenes where everyone came back, because most of my scenes were either like just with Dan or with the DA members, 6 of them, but these ones were always everyone. I love the Creature Shop. I think my favorite in the Creature Shop was the Phoenix. He's really, really beautiful, and yeah, he's so cool, and I think they've taken all his personality and his interests into account when they built that set. Play The Sims a lot, like some race car games.
It's made that more clear, having the park here, like actually going from the Muggle world to the Wizarding world, and that's why everyone sort of wants to go into acting if it hadn't been for this. So it really pushed me into this, and I found that I love it. I didn't love it like inside out, but it was more just the child in me coming out and playing. And I didn't know how to approach a character who I was already like really had a connection with. So that was just I did something that was small scale because I wanted to just explore, and I found it challenging. It was because it wasn't, and also because it was the Potter scale projects is that you have to be so much more responsible, like aware of yourself. You have to look out for yourself because they don't have the luxury of time to spend to keep going over things, and sometimes it can come out looking awful. Whereas with Harry, like great. So yeah, there was a certain, I felt more, I had more creative freedom, I suppose.
Listen to the audiobooks, the performances by Jim Dale of the American editions of the books, countless times. I mean, we're talking about numbers in the rehearsals almost as someone who's been in the desert for so long. And Percival Graves, who is a smart man, perceives this and is exploiting it by saying, hey, you in the desert, here is water. But Graves also needs something from Credence. There's a task. That seems to be the dynamic of this mutual reliance that then starts to crumble as they both start to realize or to think that the other one does not have what they need. Incredibly fun. We had a really, really wonderful time fleshing it out in rehearsal and realizing it on the day. We were very explorative. David would give us a lot of angles to play with the scene from. Very attentive, probably like every single person who worked on this film, very attentive to trying to honor the subtleties of the dynamic as it was written. Because that's the amazing thing about J.K. Rowling's work is, and they had the bullhorn and they were yelling mean things at people. And image, David Yates is the antithesis of that image. He is the opposite of all of those qualities. Incredibly quiet. He maintains an incredibly quiet set. The focus on the work is really strong. He's very sweet and kind and warm, loving and supportive, but at the same time, he is a director who will challenge you and will accept nothing less than the best and most authentic performance that you're capable of that day. And I'd accept the note, and then he'd walk away, and I'd go, wait a second, how did he know what I was?
In a sense, when we really love a story, we all step into it. I don't know, for me, a lot of my material in this film is just conversations between two people. A lot of the other actors had a lot more to sort of fill in the blanks of in their mind. But I will say that what I did do, work with the visual effects department, was really collaborative, and they were always trying to let us know what things would look like, and they were watching our performances also to inform how they were going to make these images. Graphic interpretations and pre-visualizations of what things were going to look like. You know, often when you do some sort of action scene that involves a lot of unseen, imaginary, soon-to-be computer graphically generated elements, they will show you what's almost like, it almost looks like when you get to the end of a level in a video game and they play like a little cinematic sequence. It almost looks like that. It's like a little cinematic sequence done with computer graphics that it's called a previs, and it shows you what the scene is going to look like. So that way you can, because remember on the playground when two people would disagree about what you're imagining, you're like, no, my
sort of had a moment of temporary insanity and jubilee on the street.
I wanted to do it just seeing this like muckraking, aspiring, investigative, radical journalist who was obsessed with unrest. Gonzo ideology of putting himself as this over-dramatized character that, you know, this power is corrupting him, and what was supposed to be a movement is becoming all.
An audition that involved doing an improvisation with just a couple conspiracy, David Yates and David Heyman. They came to New York and we met. A misfit sort of by design in a couple different ways. I had a breath-line stutter. When I was out of the opera, I was beginning to have questions about my sexuality and was starting to kiss boys sometimes, and that didn't help. Opportunity to see things more clearly from afar with a grander perspective, but we shouldn't discount to that sort of invention or creativity. And in fact makes people feel really stifled and like they have to be outside of society in order to express root of the problems in our world. And I think we can see the correlation pretty most prominently surfaces and bears its teeth. That's always going to be tied into misogyny. And if we don't address misogyny, then it all intersects, all issues intersect with the oppression of women and female bodies.
Because I had a speech impediment, and that almost threw me off. I have remained at least partially immersed in that world my whole even in my most rebellious adolescent times, I would still you know what I mean? I wanted to, when I heard about this movie's existence, I just wanted to be in it whatever way I could. I never dreamed there was going to be a role that would be my age and would be so complex. So then when I had done an initial audition and went and talked to the venerable conspiracy of Davids, that is Haman and Saturn, because it was just so intriguing and exciting and sounded like this really beautiful metaphor for something that I knew in a certain way. But when it comes time to work, there is a focus and an intensity. There's just a raw power, honestly, that he has and he channels. So when the scene would start and he would become Graves, it was such a complete transformation energetically. You could feel, and had a very sinister energy, particularly in the way he deals with Credence and sort of the manipulative behavior. So Colin is amazing. I admire him immensely because he's, you know, it's a great gift to another actor when you can bring that sort of energy, that energetic presence. And I really mean that, something beyond even his physicality, his speech, his expressions, which are all, of course, immaculate. He's an incredible actor, but there's something that he brings that's palpable. You know, form a just very friendly bond with him. You know, Credence is drawn to Graves and doesn't really see he feels the sinister but doesn't really connect with it or identify contexts, you know, that are some of my come from some of my favorite works and some of my favorite
person, because I think people are naturally dualistic. On a level, there's an awareness in a baby. A baby, even when a child is born, that's a 9-month progressed organism with a removed from kind of what makes us human. We're becoming less and less can be forgiven. I mean, because we can all on some level understand these are incredibly delicate and complex. That birdie was honest with you. I don't know how that bird got all that information. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Yes. I still from 1926 New York, some long underwear, because I really like old school long underwear. They're so stylish. You can just wear them as pants. You look evil. And Barry is just getting into it, and it seems exciting and very fun. I remember when I told my dad I was 8, and I was like, Dad, I'm going to be a performer, artist. And him being initially kind of taken aback, but then having a really quickly coming to the conclusion aloud that like that is, and I remember when my dad said that to me, like feeling like sort of like a map. Not quite. Yeah, I was right there though. I was on the cusp. 1991. I was that. I think that makes us less whole as people. I'm recycling these. We keep drawing these battle lines. Human beings are amazing, and love is an honor and an opportunity. The different songs, but when I was a kid, I would only let him sing one song, and it was a song I used to fall asleep to. And
very interesting, again, very challenging, but very intriguing exploration. So amazing, really, to play a character who's, I've played dark, sad, upset, disturbed characters of other varieties before, but this was 6 months of shooting, which is very different in terms of the execution of it for more than a couple months in terms of actual returning to Credence's body. Brought up challenges for me that I didn't expect in terms of working on this film, and she was very generous with me. She became, in many ways, my fairy godmother in England, even as she was playing my bad foster mother in New York. So yeah, and just an unbelievable opportunity to work with an incredible channel into many art forms. I mean, I think what's amazing about Sam is that she's every medium. She's music and she's film. She, creates film, and she's constantly writing, and she's constantly creating. And when so when she comes to a project, it feels like she just brings all of these incredible resources. And she had some experiences in her life that were almost parallel to Credence's experience. And so she was very excited to play this role because she was almost able to bring, and I feel only comfortable saying something like that just because she's spoken of it. So she had this deep understanding of these dynamics that she was actually able to share with me, and she was actually very helpful for me in the formation of my. It's so cool. I mean, it's so cool. Honestly, this year has been so but inevitably fall into. It's been a fantastic year. But going from Fantastic Beasts there to this very different space. I mean, in every way, the tone, the character, the physicality. It's all almost the people in history who might have actually had some magical ability. Getting out of control, sort of falling out of line, and how evolution happens on a often having rather miserable lives and being rejected by society, and in some cases triumphing and managing to find joy, but always outside of society. But it's almost like Credence got left behind, or Mary Lou managed. What they could have been if they were never subjected to that trauma is tragic. And then thinking about people.
It's more than you ever really even allow yourself to dream. Too good to be true. I can't really describe the feeling. It's like butterflies, but they're daily confront the reality of abuse, and then to victimize that other instead of dealing with ourselves. It's easy to sort of not pay attention to the fact that that's happening in so many of the homes across, but it's real, and it's something that we have to deal with. So yeah, a lot of my called Childline in the UK, who they're a response and outreach program for being hurt. There are organizations like that exist all around the world where you can find support networks for people who are survivors of abuse. And I'm really grateful Childline let me sort of talk to some of their responders, and then also talk to some survivors, also talking to some people in my life who are survivors in a similar way, like a really similar way to Credence, that specifically in foster care, the trauma of losing or never having your biological family, but then the process of going from family to family, and sometimes these people come at foster care with the wrong intentions. And so all of that was the hardest part, dealing with that, confronting that, because I just found that a problem in our world. And it's on microcosms in homes, and then it's the macrocosm that we create, just parent to child, care. Play Credence Barebone, and he's sort of a sad character. He's grown part of the enchantment. So I can fit anything in there, but then it is extremely... Yeah, pump up the volume, definitely. I was gonna make... Yeah, I mean, and that's true, right? I mean, it shouldn't be this art form, actually, if you think about what it is in a basic form, it shouldn't be a beauty contest. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great. That's what I'd need if I was getting shot at in a remote country. And some peanuts. I was like, who in their right mind would take Stephen Chbosky's brilliant? When I was born, I can't really remember. Is one always kids play, and when kids play, they make believe, and they put themselves into. It's time to stop playing make believe, and I was really lucky to find when I was like 6, I got into opera. And then was able to actually find a really chorus. I was able to sing with the Met for 2 years. So then it was like, talk about being sanctioned, it was like professional. I don't want to work just for the sake of working. I want to wait for the project to be right. Something that will challenge me and something that I know I can bring a lot to. See the final result, and it's so, moving and emotional. And you feel like when, I feel so proud of this film. Every time that happens, I feel like I become, it reinforces my will to be, that whoever had, whatever the brain was, there was only so far you could go wrong with what we'd done out there. I certainly did not expect how far right it had gone. I mean, I was crying when the film ended, and and there was this young girl who would care about. This film was made for one kid in Nebraska. Yes. And we're trying desperately to find.
Love to be able to do the Ingorgio and Reducto spell just to make things different sizes. So I'd like to right now be able to make you I would have just clung to Ron Perlman's head and played an ear. If that's what I had to do to be involved in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So the fact that the character was a dream role for any actor was just a very, very luscious icing on an already. It was really fantastic. When you see 1920s underwear, you understand that they knew things back.
I don't identify with that. I think that makes us less whole. Human beings are amazing, and love is an honor and an opportunity. And a fragile thing. No, I mean, I guess I mean someone else doubted. It's somewhat like a valve. Remember in band class at school when the gross woodwind section would have the spit valve? Yeah. Remember they'd have to let out the spit, drift off and start playing with a prop or staring at the body. All art is made by the body. If we're a singer, we're dancing with our vocal cords. And for me, I guess what I was interested in, or what I'm becoming more and more interested in, is a lot of times in acting we talk about setting intention. So what is your character's motivation in this scene? Which is great and is important. But for me, what I'm becoming more interested in is, instead of intention, paying attention. And paying attention to the body. No, Ezra, we need you to run. We have this enormous treadmill. I think that's called it. Meets visual effects. And what we're trying to implement is a wide diversity of tactics of how, drink from that well and draw in information and get. Oh. But I would certainly pre-order them online at the first available opportunity. And would wait for them eagerly, go and check the mailbox long before it was possible that they would be there, that sort of thing. Or as a kid, you wait. And would listen to the audiobooks almost every day of my life for several years, embarrassingly, in one way or another, especially when we are children. We have such an access point to magic through our, he's brought back to the true magic that we all partake of, reminded again of. And again that it's friendship, and that physical imagination of what magic could be, but then ultimately we're always brought back to the true magic. I think that is a truth that can be found through a lot of the wisdom traditions of the world. Those people who do practice magic, I think, would agree with J.K. There's something at the root which has to do with how human beings have this dangerous tendency to separate ourselves from the world and the beings around us. With separation, we lose awareness, and with a loss of awareness, we become frightened. And when we're frightened, we often lash out or demonize or target what we're frightened of. And permeating all culture is this dangerous element of seeing someone else as completely separate from yourself, losing awareness of how those people are different, but at the root always the same, and then demonizing and targeting other people. The dangers in the world that J.K. Rowling seems to time and time again direct our attention to. And what a great time for this film to come out, as the situation is unbelievably dire. We've lost half the bio. No matter what, no matter how quickly we can pull it together or our ship on this destructive path, we're scared.
I don't know how exciting that biopic would really be. It would just be like me growing up in suburban New Jersey and then like getting some role and being like, how did this possibly? We think we live in the coolest, craziest city in the world and the most lively, vibrant city in the world. This city is so amazing and there's so much going on. Yeah, it has all the energy and all the vibrance of New York, but maybe time. I certainly had that period. I remember when I was about 13 years old, everybody had an identity, everybody had these opinions, and so I started to have my own opinions and I started to sort of carve out my own identity. You know, I had to pretend like I hated the music my parents liked, even though before then, and now again now, I can admit it's actually good looks can only get you so far, and often people don't care. Like girls with artistic sensibility and who make art, and I tend to love or relate to someone else if you can't first love and relate to. Actors who trust their instincts and working with that there is nothing more important. You can intellectualize and think about a character or the best thing you can do is let your internal awareness and to listen and to pay attention to the other actors, because there's a danger in thinking too much that you will ignore what's really happening and you'll miss the Hoffman. I say it all the time. I say it when I'm alone. You know, I'll just be like, you know, like a maniacal, like a fanatical. Yeah, would listen to the audiobooks almost every day of my life for.
This isn't even like a cereal bowl. This is like a bowl you'd put some sort of sauce or garnish in. Very shallow. This connects. Maybe this doesn't connect. Maybe I'm just talking about it because I'm obsessed with